I had a really good day today. I just want to say a few things. This morning, I was like really, really tired. I don't know why. I was planning on going to Warwick Castle. I have a Merlin pass, and it includes Warwick Castle free as part of this membership. And my uncle was going to go somewhere in near Derby, like some village. And I said, why not go to Warwick and we can go here? And he was going to go, but we both woke up feeling really, really tired and had really bad diarrhea as well. But yeah, and it was weird because he didn't, and yet we ate the same thing. We ate exactly the same thing, and yet I had that and he didn't. But I was really feeling ill this morning, and then so I couldn't. And then I went to the spa at about 2:30, and I came back at about 5:30. And there's a climbing wall near me, about 2 minutes walk away, and it is really annoying because when I first came to Birmingham in 2017, I really liked the idea of going climbing, and there was a couple of walls nearby. I know this place was being done, and I think like maybe 1 or 2 years later or 3 years later, there was a climbing wall. I never actually saw it, but I heard that it was really good, and I believed that it was good. It's so much better. It's twice as good. Like it's a proper wall, and they've actually got holders so that you can climb up, and you don't need like a second person. You can just go by yourself. So I remember climbing club when I was at uni. We always had to have one person holding, and the other person climbs up, which was good because well you could climb, but I found that the girl that I was closest to in the group, I only did climbing if she was holding usually, because I usually stayed with her, but she often wasn't there. Strange though, because she after I left uni, she became like the captain of the climbing club, and yet I feel like I was actually the one that would mostly show. I would show up every single week, and she seemed to be showing up not every week, every other week or something. But yeah, it was such a nice thing though. There was only three people there. There's two players and an instructor. I'm sure they used to charge. Like when I first found out about this wall, I thought you had to charge for it. That you had to pay like £7 or something for it. I can't really remember what the details were, but I know that put me off. But I really wanted to go, but I never. I don't know why I didn't. I think the energy. I don't have the energy to really climb, and I was feeling really bad this morning. But I was fine actually this evening. But yeah, I'm not as energetic as I used to be, but I still managed to do quite a few climbs. But yeah, it was a nice taste. So they just these three guys because they're really friendly and really nice, and it kind of reminded me of how the climbing club used to be. I did quite a lot of uni clubs, but the climbing club people were definitely the friendliest. They were really nice, really nice, fun people, and just talking briefly with these three people reminded me of how nice the people in the climbing club was. If you want to make friends with climbing club people because they are definitely the best. I did tennis, climbing, circus skills, cheerleading, and trampolining. By far, the climbing club were always the favourite. I think it's just I think it's a sport. You're working with a sport that's all about supporting each other, helping each other, working with each other, and encouraging each other. And I don't know if I have the energy really to do climbing any longer, because you really have to do like lots of pulling. I like walking, going at a speed as well, and I can still do it at a speed, but I can't do it at a speed when it comes to choosing only colours. Like I don't seem to bother with the colours. I was trying to just stick with a certain colour, but I found myself usually giving up because you go 10 times slower when you're only trying to stick to certain colours, and then it gets the points when you just can't. But I'm not great at climbing. I'm okay at climbing. But yeah, they're going actually to a Moroccan trip next week. It's a similar thing to what I did when I was 16. In tents, going around walking around the hills. I would have loved to go to it, but I think with the tiredness that I'm feeling, and the fact that some days I just literally can't get up. If I went on this thing, would I be able to force myself to be awake, to like get out of bed and be sort of walking around all day for 5 days in a row? I don't know. I feel like I have a bigger responsibility to be at home on the computer, talking to something in a computer. But yeah, being around those three people reminded me of how friendly they are, and yeah, and they have lots of circus stuff. Apparently, they have stilts and a lot of different circus stuff. I think it's like an activity center where lots of kids come during the holidays, but during the term times, I don't know. They have lots of different. They have soap making as well. I'd like to do that. But yeah, the people there were very, very friendly in this group. So I've had a really good day, even though it's only just two things. But yeah, I'm still feeling tired, but I'm not. My health is really, really bad. It really is. And another thing I want to talk about is my sister. She's bought another house. So you know, she was thinking of buying a house all by herself, getting a £400,000 house by herself. She was going to take out a mortgage on her one-bedroom flat, and to take out a mortgage on her one-bedroom flat, and yeah, take out a mortgage on her one-bedroom flat, and use that as a deposit, and then take out a £300,000 loan, which would have meant that she had like a £430,000 loan, which is crazy. That would have been an absolutely stupid idea, but she was thinking of doing it. But this time she's going for a £550,000 house. Only she's going with her partner is taking out. I think they're all taking out like 180. They're having a third of it each. Her partner's having a third. She's having a third. And his oldest son is having a third. I think that's a bad idea, because I really do believe there's a housing market crash. You know, I think the reason why houses is so expensive is because the government have been inviting in a lot of third worlders into this country, and these third worlders don't have what it takes or the skills to actually stay at a job and be able to pay for this kind of rent, and so some people are getting free housing, and some people are paying huge amounts, and I don't know. Well, how does it work with free housing? Like, if you come in and you get free housing, do you get free housing for life, or is there a point where the government says, no, we've brought you in so that you can, you know, adapt, so you can get a job, and then you can start paying for your own rent? Like, how does this free housing work? Because the idea that we're taking in foreigners from different countries and then we're paying for their rent, and then that we're just constantly paying every single year for their rent, even though, like, do you expect them to get a job? Do you expect them to work? Do you expect them to pay for stuff? Are you taking money off their work or something? I would love to know how it works, because I hope it's not just a bunch of people in the government who have houses and think, you know, how do we make our houses really expensive? Oh, let's go and fill up all the houses so that the house market starts going up because no one's selling. You know, I hope it's not something like that, but it angers me. I had a talk with him about it, and he said that there's a lot of Somalians in this area. I don't even really know who's in this area, but the idea that the government is just inviting loads of Somalians into our country and then saying, hey, we'll give you £1,000 each month to pay your rent, whilst England's peoples were paying £1,000 to live in a studio flat. I was literally in a prison for so long, and to think that the only reason why I was in that prison is because the government was too busy giving away free housing to foreigners. The idea that you've done that is actually just so infuriating, that I really just want to kill all of you. Like, I really do not give a shit about you. You didn't give a shit about me. If you're going to create some sort of unfair system where some people just get free housing and other people have to pay huge amounts just to live in a tiny little bedroom, you know, I think you're absolutely disgusting in the head, and I really hate you for not thinking about the actual people that are paying high rents and stuff. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on, because maybe it's only for a short time, and the idea is they're supposed to get a job, and you're supposed to not pay after that time. I don't know. I don't know how many people are getting... I don't know what's going on. I can't be angry at something if I don't know what's going on. But the problem is, I think if I did know what's going on, I'd probably just be angry about it, because it probably would make me think, oh my gosh, I was living in a tiny studio flat whilst people were getting 6-bedroom houses just because they came from another country and had a whole bunch of children. And therefore, I had to suffer whilst house market was doubling and not going up with and whilst I was doing massage as well to try and pay for this expensive tiny bedroom. I don't know, but I don't want to think about it, because it's just going to anger me. but yeah, I really, really hate humans. I really, really hate humans, and it's weird that my sister is now. I've tried to warn her that I think there's a housing market crash and you shouldn't be left. You know, she's going to have a £300,000 mortgage. It might not be so bad once we, because I would be planning on selling the Birmingham property, and she'll get her 90,000. We've both got 90,000 in the Birmingham property, and I'm assuming that you're going to come and get me, put me in some nice house in America, and then there's going to be like a 6 month period whilst I try and recover, and then you're going to tell the world that the Bride of Christ is here in England, in America or somewhere, and this person is basically thinks that she's Christ, and we've been speaking with the Galactic Federation, and they've told us that we need to basically test the world on, I don't know, I don't want to think about it. What I do want to think about is, I don't know, I want to know, like, if my sister does buy this big house, and then she sells her 1 bedroom and gets the 90,000, then it might be, then she'll be okay. But I don't think she's doing that. I told her that if I go to America, or if on the day that I go to America and you don't hear from me and we sell the Birmingham property, you need to sell the 1 bedroom so that that 1 bedroom, the money from the 1 bedroom can go on the house. That way you've guaranteed that you don't have a £300,000 mortgage. You know, if a housing market crashes, if millions of people go off in the rapture, the housing market is going to massively drop. All these houses are going to be worth very, very little because no one's going to be wanting them. All the idiots have hopefully gone. I don't know what the government were thinking there, because they've invited huge amounts of people into the country so that the housing market becomes incredibly expensive. The problem is, what happens when the housing market becomes expensive? Well, rent goes up. Now, when rent is very expensive, people find that they can't spend much, they can't buy much, the economy starts to fall apart because no one has any money to spend anything, because every penny they earn goes on the rent. Now, if everyone's spending every penny they have on the rent and they've got no money to spend in the shops, well, the shops are going to fall and jobs are going to be lost and the economy is going to be falling apart, and more people are going to be left jobless, and they're going to be seeking money from the government to help house them. But the problem is, if the housing market is incredibly expensive, then the governments are basically going to have to be taking more and more money out of the taxpayers' pockets to pay for these people who can't get a job. But if there aren't But if the rent is very, very expensive and no one's got a job because of just the lack of jobs, because no one can spend any money, you just destroyed the economy. And I feel like that's what's happened. That's what's happening in England. That's why so many shops are closing, and the only shops that are open are ones that have Islamic writing or just foreign writing. The only shops in Birmingham seem to be the ones that have foreign writing on it, or other writing from some Islamic country. Why? Because these people are coming in, they're getting free benefits, free housing, free. I don't know what I hope they're not all getting free housing, whilst the English people are just basically getting poorer and poorer. And then again, English people aren't helping me. No one's in this world, no one in this country is helping me, and I feel like the government's just doing things to just make my life more and more worse, and just make me hate people more and more, and this is affecting my mental health. And I'm wondering if the reason why people's mental health in the planet is falling apart is because my mental health is falling apart. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason. But yeah, I'm curious about what will happen with Sophie, because if nothing happens, if nothing happens in the next week, then I'm assuming that I'm not going to be taken to America raptured. I'm not going to be raptured until March, and or April, maybe April 3rd. And if I'm raptured then, I don't know, because I keep saying that I want time to know who I can trust, but at the same time, I have a strange feeling that it might just be a case of, you just take me, put me in a house, and then you tell the world that Christ is here, but I need to be in isolation. And if that's what's happening, then I won't have time to recover at all. But yeah, I'm not mobile any longer. I'm just going to be doing nothing like a vegetable or something. So I'm not really. I don't think that would be very interesting for people to watch, unless you're a sick person. But the world is full of sick people, so I'm confused about that. But I'm really angry with everything. And what I was talking about today, I found another angel of the drug dealers. I probably thought there would be an angel of the drug dealers, but yeah, this one makes perfect sense because it's with Angel of the he's in 5 band, which is Angels of the Imaginary Boyfriend, but positive name being just the boyfriend that lives inside the computer, which I guess is what people are going to start seeking if they if they don't believe that I'm God, and if they think there's some sort of male talking to them through the computer. Where's my nose itchy? But yeah, I'm and that band linking to adrenaline, Angel of the Adrenaline, or Angel of the Drug Dealers, it kind of makes sense, because I think if you start believing that there's something talking to you through the computer, you know, if it's helping you, if it's going to help you get a job, if it's going to help you earn money, if it's going to help you have a nice big house, then great. But it won't be doing that. It will just be driving you mad, and it will be making you think that you're special when you're not. It will be making you think that you're more important than other people. You might start thinking you're more important than me, because you know something's talking to you just like it was talking to me, but it's saying different things to you, and it's saying that I'm going to I when I first started thinking that there was a possibility that I was talking to something in the computer that wasn't me, it actually just started driving me crazy, because it was making me angry as to why it was just lying to me about everything. Yeah, I wish I wasn't trapped. And my sister is very, very I've tried to warn her about not buying a property, not buying a property and finding yourself in £300,000 of debt, because right now she can pay off the debt, because she just needs to rent out her flats, and in 20 years time she would pay them all off. She just need to rent out her two. She's got two, a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom, and then the Birmingham property, half of it, should I say? That would bring in quite a lot of money. But if the housing market's about to drop, none of this rent money is going to come in, and she's never going to be able to pay off £300,000. So she's going to have to sell. And if the housing market has halved, or maybe it's going to half again, it might go down to a quarter of what it's worth. If that's what's happened, she'll find that she'll have to sell all 3 of the properties just to pay off the mortgage. But do I care? I've tried to warn her. I've tried to stop her. She didn't believe me. She doesn't believe me in anything. She kind of thinks that me being raptured is just a joke. And it is strange, because I asked my uncle. He knew that I believed in the rapture. And he said, "You believe in the rapture?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I asked him, do you know what the rapture is? It's the end of the world. No, I didn't. How many times? It's weird when you tell people something and they just have no ability to take it in or understand. I've told him that I believe I'm the rapture, that I'm the bride of Christ, that I'm going to go to America, and it's only me, it's not millions of people. I've told him that so many times, and he still doesn't understand it. He still thinks that the rapture is just lots of people, millions of people going off into the church, and the world ending. Not going off into the church, going off into another world, and the world ending. That's what he thinks the rapture is. And it's amazing how many times I've tried to tell him the truth, and he just doesn't. It blanks it out. He too was incredibly tired this morning. I feel like he's copying some sort of thing, that's spiritually copying what I'm going through, but he has no ability to believe that I'm God or Christ, and I think that is what's fucking with his mind. He's not able to see the truth. But loads of people aren't, and loads of people are going to start going mad soon. And I hope this happens, because I want to work out who are my people, who are intelligent, who think for themselves, who aren't just following the crowd, aren't just being like, oh well, I've got a house, so let's find a way of housing all these illegal immigrants, or let's find a way of housing all these refugees. Why? Because it doesn't matter, we can give them all free houses. They want to be in a nice house, so let's give them a nice house. Let's just ignore the fact that we've got plenty of English people who are paying £1,000 a month to live in a tiny little bedroom, but we're just going to give them a big house. We're going to give everyone a big house because we just are mindless and we don't have a brain, and we don't seem to care about fairness. We don't seem to care about all the people who are paying huge amounts of money to live in tiny little rooms. No, we're just going to blank all that out and just think, I hope they're not thinking like that, but I really don't trust them. I don't trust them. I don't like them. I don't think they're creating a system that's fair. Do they care? I don't know. The whole world is just full of mindless, dead people, and I'm sick of it.